I'd like to welcome you into another edition of our Terriers Together podcast. I'm Tom Henson, Wofford class of 1996, and I work in the Office of Advancement, and we've got a special treat for you today. We have got four much better looking than me Wofford graduates who are going to help us celebrate some stuff with Women's History Month during the month of March. And I think you're in for a treat to hear some of their Wofford experiences and what they're doing in their professional lives and how Wofford has helped shape them. And so again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll get started, and I'll have you guys introduce yourself. And how you're ordered on my screen is crazy. So we'll start with Elizabeth Sheehan, and we'll just kind of work our way through it. So I guess I'll call on you to introduce yourself, but you guys go ahead and tell us who you are and all the good stuff about you.
All right, so I'll start. Elizabeth Sheehan. I graduated from Wofford in 2008. I majored in art history, and after that kind of cruised through some jobs in marketing, and now currently work for my family's antique business. I run our marketing pretty much, and I run our new shop in Columbia, South Carolina, Macintosh Cottage Antiques.
Awesome. Welcome, Elizabeth. All right, Meredith Dark from the beach.
Yes, sir. I am at the beach and serving First United Methodist Church in Myrtle Beach, and I'm a United Methodist minister. I'm the associate pastor at First Church, and I graduated in 2010.
Where did you go to divinity school?
Emory Candler School of Theology.
Awesome. Glad you're here, Meredith.
Thank you.
Hello, Whitney.
Hey, Tom. Hi, everyone. I'm Whitney Howard, and I graduated from Wofford a kind of a long time ago, even though it doesn't feel that way, in 1998. And at Wofford, I studied government and a major that at the time was called political economy and philosophy. Though I don't know if that's still a thing, but it was at the time. And I'm in Savannah, Georgia. I am the owner of a company called Starland Alchemy that is aimed at helping people move through this changing world through the modalities of astrology, life coaching, and business coaching. But prior to this chapter of my career, I was in New York City for 20 years, working as a senior executive in technology and digital media.
Awesome. Glad you're with us. And one of my favorite Wofford grads, Tiawanna Billups, who's on mute. There you go.
Hi guys, I'm Tiawanna Billups. I'm currently in Atlanta, but I probably spent a lot of time in both Atlanta and DC from a job perspective. I graduated from Wofford in 1997. My profession is I'm a healthcare executive, you would say. I've worked both on the health plan payer side at Aetna and Anthem, but I'm currently a director at Guidehouse, which is a consulting firm that's globally recognized, and I focus on the healthcare sector as well.
And in full disclosure, I'll comment that Tiawanna and I not only went to Wofford together, we also went to high school together. So the stories.
I was going to share that story later, Tom, in my interview. You didn't let me try to share it.
I'm trying to prevent you from telling all of my secrets because if anybody knows them, it's you. But I'm really happy that all of you guys are on here, and thanks to Elizabeth Yarborough, our director of alumni at Wofford, for putting this together. And we'll just stay in the same order as you introduced yourself. And so, Elizabeth Sheehan, we'll start with you. And for all of you, why did you attend Wofford? How did you end up in Spartanburg?
I ended up looking at Wofford. My parents' best friend had a child who graduated from Wofford a few years ahead, and a niece who was at Wofford, and they knew that I was looking for a smaller school, a school with a good community feel. And so I took a look at Wofford, and it just turned out to be kind of everything that I wanted. At the time I was thinking, like, I don't want to hop on a bus like they do in Athens to get from class to class. And I just didn't want to go to school with thousands and thousands of people. I wanted to know the people that I was with and be able to get to know professors. And it seemed like that was something that Wofford offered. And I got there and found that to be very true.
Awesome. Very cool. Meredith, how about you?
Wofford was my number one. And when I got the acceptance letter, I was taking the entrance exam again. I think it was the ACT, and my parents met me in the parking lot, and I was elated. I could not believe it. Wofford, another reason is that it's a Methodist school, and I have Methodist roots as a minister now. That has obviously come full circle, and that was very important to me. And when I was considering applying to colleges, I thought about the alumni that had come from those colleges. And I really have admired people that I know. They don't know that I admired them, I don't think, but it's like who you look up to. And I wanted to aspire to be somebody like the alumni that I knew, and Wofford graduates are special.
Very well said. And I agree with you. What's your Wofford story, Whitney?
Well, I grew up in South Carolina, and so I knew about Wofford. Doesn't everybody in South Carolina know about Wofford? And my choice, I was looking at a number of schools, but my choice was made easier because of an academic scholarship to Wofford. But I remember very clearly visiting for the first time, and it wasn't about the course material, it was about how I felt on campus, similar to what Elizabeth said. What drew me in was the fact that it felt like a community versus just a school.
I agree completely, and I hope that still is true for prospective students these days. And I think it is. T, how did you end up at Wofford?
You know, it was because of you, Tom. What are you talking about? No, seriously, I think after I took the PSAT in 8th grade or 9th grade, I got some letter from Wofford, and it was my first real college visit as a 10th grader, and I'm in high school. And I think when me and my father toured the campus, we just really felt at home. We really felt comfortable. It's I guess the environment that it had. And, you know, I solidified my decision to go to Wofford, not only because academically I was looking at Wofford potentially because I wanted to be pre-med and go to medical school, but also I was afforded an opportunity to actually be a collegiate athlete. And so having an opportunity to do something that unique, to be an academic scholar as well as a collegiate athlete for then Division 1, Division 3, then independent and then Division 1 school was pretty unique for me. And so I took that opportunity to do that for Wofford.
Very cool. For all of you, what stands out as kind of when you look back, what stands out or as some of your most memorable experiences at Wofford? And certainly that can be academic, social, it can be anything, but when you look back, what are your fond memories of Wofford? Elizabeth?
One is actually a professor, Dr. Schmunk. I had kind of started Wofford thinking that I was going to major in business economics, and because I felt like that was just a good kind of go-to degree, and I didn't have anything at the time that I felt, super passionately about. But I sat in my first art history class with Dr. Schmunk, and I thought, okay, wait a minute. I think this is where I'm supposed to be. And actually, a few weeks into that, declared my major in art history. And it's been wonderful because it's kind of I always wanted to work for our family business in antiques, but I feel like that really kind of led me in the right direction for that. So that's a huge moment for me. But I guess the biggest one is that I met my husband at Wofford. And that's been pretty great. So thank you, Tom, actually.
I did play a role, a very small one, but I did play a role.
We give credit where credit is due.
Thank you. Meredith, what about you? What stands out the most?
So the thing that's most valuable to me is that anytime I wanted to try something or look into something, all I had to do was send an email to a faculty member or professor, staff member, and set up a meeting and go have a conversation with them. And I might get emotional because, thinking back on the 4 years, it's just amazing to me how many times I did that. And every single time it was like the door was open, I could go talk to anybody. I struggled with declaring a major, and I bet I talked to at least 10. I mean, maybe department heads, maybe that's an exaggeration, but I mean, I really, just didn't know what I wanted to do. And I remember there was a fencing interim my freshman year, and I had open heart surgery in July before I came to Wofford in the fall. And I can't remember what professor led it, but I sent them an email and I went to their office and asked them, like, is this a good idea? And we had a conversation about it. And I ended up doing cornbread and sushi on the road with Dino Tragus and John Lane. And I'll tell you what, there's just so many wonderful people at Wofford and so many helpful people. I mean, Jennifer Dillinger helped me with my resume. Dr. Jeffrey was beyond words. I just adore Dr. Jeffrey. And Dr. DeMars opened my mind to so many different things in terms of NGOs and world politics. And I mean, just wonderful people, willing people, it was fantastic.
Very, very well said. Whitney?
Wofford gave me the gift of opening my eyes to a world beyond South Carolina. And that will always be the greatest gift that Wofford gave me. I went to Indonesia for interim with Dr. Dunlap before he was President Dunlap, and spent a semester abroad in Europe. And after Wofford, went on to the University of South Carolina's International Business MBA with a focus on Chinese. And that was entirely informed by the lens on the world beyond South Carolina that Wofford gave me. And, it's something that I know that Wofford still offers as a focus on international. And at a time where the South is working very hard to become a better version of the South, I just think that's such a gift to Wofford students.
Very. How about you, Tiawanna?
I think my most memorable thing or most thing that stood out at Wofford was, again, being a collegiate athlete as well as a student scholar. It was one of those things that I had to balance, and not everybody gets the opportunity to do that. Academically, or just from the sense of what Wofford brings to their own culture, just the community itself. I'm still really close friends with a lot of people from Wofford. The network in the community that you have after graduating is impeccable and outstanding, because once everybody finds out you went to Wofford, it is a no-brainer, and that you're going to be connected to someone. I also really enjoyed the unique perspective of interim. Who would have thought that I would have ever taken a class that was called quilting, and from 1 to 4 every day while we quilted and talked about things of the past, and even watched I guess they're soap operas, right? And I'm quilting during basketball games, that unique opportunity that I get to take a course about quilting. And I actually like to quilt, and I actually like to sew and use a little bit of threading. And so it was just a unique opportunity to do that at Wofford that I probably would not have gotten at Clemson.
Very well said. We're going to send this to the admissions office, and they can use this for prospective students, because you guys just recruited everybody to go to Wofford, and truthfully, with everything you said. I kind of want to switch gears a little bit to career paths and talk about what you've done since you graduated from Wofford. And so just talk to us about, what's happened. What have been your career movements since you graduated from Wofford? Elizabeth?
Right out of Wofford, I got a job working in development. Actually, I was working for a museum in Columbia, helping with fundraising, which was a great learning experience. A really great way to get in touch with the Wofford alumni system, I guess, in Columbia. It's a great support system for sure. After that, I had a job in staffing and recruiting, which was also a great learning experience and led to a job that I had with a law firm here in Columbia in legal marketing for about 4 years. Then I had my first baby, and I took a little time off. And during that time, I actually started a cheesecake business, just baking cheesecakes to order, which
Now
was
we're getting into what I'm interested in.
yes,
Cheesecakes.
cheesecakes. And actually that was a great opportunity for me to kind of, work on like honing some of my own marketing skills, because I was marketing my own business and kind of learning how to do that on social media. And through that, I was able to get a job working for a local children's shop here. Duck Duck Goose, Sarah and I were friends because she was a cheesecake customer. And I started doing her social media marketing and email marketing and worked with Sarah for about 4 years, and learned so much from that experience, and got to know so many people around Columbia. And I guess about a year and a half ago, my parents and I started talking about opening a shop, one of our antique shops in Columbia. It's something I wanted to do always. And I drove past this great little building in November of 2020. And, we started crunching the numbers and putting together a plan and talking about how we could make this work, and ended up buying the building and opening our shop in October. And it's been amazing. It's been really great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Meredith.
All right. Well, I took a year off between Wofford and Emory because I was having that Jonah moment where I was running from the call. I knew that I was called, but I was avoiding it. And I applied to Emory. I got accepted. I graduated in 2014 with my master's in divinity. I was appointed to Mount Hebron United Methodist Church in West Columbia, and it's a fabulous church. Served there as the associate from 2014 to 2017, was fully ordained in 2017. Then I became the youngest resident at the Oaks, which is a retirement community in Orangeburg, South Carolina. I went to retire at 29. And so I lived on campus at the Oaks with independent assisted living and skilled nursing, and then was appointed to First United Methodist Church in Myrtle Beach, where I am currently. And I've learned a lot as an associate, and it's been a lot of fun.
All right, Whitney, I know you've gone from New York to Savannah, so fill us in.
Yeah, but it's more fun for me to listen to everybody else. Favorite part of this. That is right. My first job after business school at USC was a Wall Street investment bank, and I moved to New York 3 months before September 11th. So that was quite an interesting time to be introduced to the big city. And I was there, for pretty much 20 years. After Wall Street, I moved over into tech and digital media. And my resume includes Condé Nast, Sony Music, Sony Pictures, 20th Century Fox. So it was a good run, and I loved that part of my career. But what I loved the most was mentoring younger employees, more than, building digital businesses and making big companies tons of money. And so I was going through my own life changes in my late 30s, and an astrologer sat down with me and told me more about my life path and life purpose and what I had done up to that point in my life than the people that know me best. And my mind was blown. And because I'm a nerd, I started studying astrology in the same way that I've always studied music and other areas of interest. Had no idea that I was going to be starting to share astrology with other people. But in the middle of the pandemic in Savannah, where I moved in late 2018, early 2019, I started a company called Starland Alchemy, and I would love to connect with anybody that's listening here on Instagram. Little plug at Starland Alchemy. It's StarlandAlchemy. And so I'm doing life coaching, business coaching, and astrology. And I work with clients literally all over the world via Zoom. And then I've got a wonderful base of clients and friends here in Savannah. So my focus these days is really on helping people, because we live in such a changing world and there's so much happening on the world stage, but also in people's personal lives. And so It has been a really rewarding new stage in my own personal development and work in the world.
Very cool. All right, Tiawanna, what's your career arc?
Well, my career art is I was math pre-med major at Wofford, and I was in secondary applications to go to medical school, and then all of a sudden I decided, do I really want to do 12 more years of school? Because I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon with a focus in sports medicine, and it just didn't look like it was something that was in the cards for me after 4 years of Wofford. So I ended up applying late to go to grad school, this MBA MHA program at Georgia State in Atlanta. So that's how I ended up in Atlanta. Was there for, it was a 2.5-year program. And while I was in that program, I started an internship at Aetna, then continued to go work for Aetna as a financial consultant, doing a lot of medical cost analysis and healthcare facility pricing, as well as contracting throughout the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic. During grad school, I was really interested in consulting. So I ended up connecting with a good Wofford alumni, Greg Odell, and moved to DC and went to go work for KPMG, then KPMG Consulting, Bearing Point, and started working in the federal space for healthcare. So worked with the likes of the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, the FDA, and my most memorable stuff of working with was the CDC, because I too was in DC at 9/11, and lived next to the Pentagon as well, and so had that experience of having that in DC, but also working as a consultant with the CDC and doing some of their own program as it relates to bioterrorism, emergency response, and building a new office in response to 9/11 was pretty significant for me of what I felt and got out of consulting. And so I did consulting for another 6 or 7 years before I went back to the health plan at Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, and worked there for about 10 years at the enterprise level there, where I worked on a lot of IT strategies, business solutions, and even developing new programs. What you'll hear a lot today is called value-based care and collaborative care and care management, and how do we build more value in the care that's being received versus, focusing on volume and outcome, focus on volume, but also focusing on outcome. Doing those strategies at Anthem at that broad level kind of led me back into consulting, because now I'm back at Guidehouse doing consulting, where my primary client is the Veteran Health Affairs organization within the federal space again. And so I work closely with their Office of Community Care Program. And so when a veteran can't go see a doctor or seek healthcare at an actual VA facility, they actually use a national network of providers, and I help with that program and developing that, transforming that, doing strategic analysis, working on the operations. So the one thing good about the things that I do now from a consulting perspective and working with the VA is that I get to actually impact the veterans' experience every day and to improve their access to care literally every day, and fixing issues or developing a new network or new programs within that particular space. And currently I'm working on my PhD as well out of Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia, where I'm focused on population health management and sciences, and with a focus in health economics and outcomes research.
What strikes me about what all of you are doing is, and I think this is, I don't want to say it's uniquely Wofford, but I think it's something that gets ingrained in folks at Wofford, is all of you are helping people in some way or another. And it's very clear to me that you're all making your portions of the world better because of what you're doing. And so I commend you and thank you for that, and for bringing great positive light on Wofford through your careers. I wanted to wrap up just by asking you, what are some skills you learned at Wofford, or what are things that you take or that you took from your Wofford experience that you use either in your career or just your everyday personal life? Ms. Sheehan?
Oh gosh. I think Wofford sort of helped me like rely on other people, helped me learn how to reach out to Wofford alumni to say, like, help me with this, or what can we do to make something better. I think the sense of community with Wofford teaches you a lot. You learn from the people in your community. You give to those people because, you know, you have that bond and they give to you. And I just think the sense of community helped me build my own community and rely on that community. And so I think that's probably the main one. And then I think also just being able to manage time. I think I learned a lot of that at Wofford, and being able to balance your projects and, you know, weigh what's more important and that kind of thing.
Awesome. Meredith?
Well, that's a tough question because there's a lot. One of the first things that comes to mind is a quote from the movie Into the Wild. And Chris McCandless, he says, if you want something in life, reach out and grab it. And I think that Wofford helped that because there were so many wonderful opportunities, and all you had to do was say, I'm interested in that, and see where it went. From conversations to study abroad to the majors that I chose to alumni engagement. I mean, it's just fantastic. Like on a practical level, I think Linda Power's public speaking class was extremely helpful. And also,
And scary.
Yes, and scary. And the value of making a schedule and sticking to it. I think Elizabeth Wallace helped me with that one because I was working out of 3 calendars and she said, consolidate it to 1. And just wonderful practical things and good things.
How about you, Whitney?
The skill that I credit Wofford for giving me is the understanding of the importance of being a valuable and contributing member to a community. That to be a part of a community, whether it's a huge macro community or a neighborhood, is not just about showing up and saying, this is my space and don't come in here, or it's not just about showing up to class or making sure tuition is paid, that it's about being a contributing member and caring about the community as a whole, where it's going. And that Wofford was a wonderful 4-year training in that, because the size of Wofford allows you to be involved in a number of things that interest you and to try things that you don't know about but you want to learn more. And that's something that I still very present with me at this point in my life.
Tawana?
Yeah, I think the skill, I don't know if you would say this, Tom, I always prided myself as an introvert in high school, somewhat to myself and not very much social, although I did have a superlative apparently in high school. So maybe I was more social than I thought I was. But I think the skill that I learned the most at Wofford was how much not only just being an individual high performer or contributor matters, but also how much networking and establishing relationships also brings success to your life and fulfillment to your life. You just learn so much down the road that networking is a big integral part of who you are and what you do every day. And it's interesting that I take this Cliffs Finders strength analysis probably 4 times now over the last 15 years of my own professional career. And I always end up with number 1 being relator, being my number 1 strength. So apparently I was a bit more social than I thought I was, even though I would pride myself. And the Myers-Briggs says I'm an introvert. But I still think that relationships mean a lot in establishing that community, what we talked about earlier, and leveraging your community too. And being a part of a community also is a big part of who you are and how you continue to breathe success in life.
Very well said. And I want to thank all of you for being a part of our Wofford community and joining me today. And like I said, not only are you helping people in your communities, but you're bringing positive light to Wofford, and I thank you for that. And again, thank you for joining me. I think this is something people are going to enjoy hearing your stories, and I hope reaching out to you about learning more about what you're doing or your business or whatever. Also, thanks Elizabeth Yarborough for helping us get all this together and getting us all organized. And for those of our viewers, if you have future ideas or if there's something that you'd like to see us do, let me know. Drop me an email at Henson, HENSONTM @wofford.edu. And we'll see if we can make something happen with an idea that you may have. But Elizabeth, Meredith, Whitney, Tiawanna, thank you so much for joining me today and being with us. Thank you for your stories, your kind and generous words. But most importantly, thank you for being Wofford grads and for doing what you're doing in your communities. Best of luck to all of you. And to the viewers, we thank you for watching and listening. And we'll see you next time. Go Terriers.